Howdy and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Today's subject is the most modern kit that we've looked at so far. This kit was produced in 1972 by KP, which is a Czechoslovakian company. They were around from 68 to about 96-ish, it looks like. And they produced mostly models of planes that the Czechoslovakian Air Force was flying, and then included decals for some of the other countries of the same aircraft. So let's take a look at this first one here. The box says it's a MiG-19. In Czechoslovakia, they had actually produced the MiG-19 themselves. It was called the Aero S-105. The first MiGs, were designed by Mikoyan and Gurevich in 1953, and the first Czech-built version of it first flew on October 30th, 1959. It was sometimes called the MiG-19S. The ones that were shipped from Russia to Czechoslovakia went under that designation, but the ones that were produced in Czechoslovakia were Aero S-105s. So out of 182 total aircraft, MiGs, that Czechoslovakia had, 103 of them were Czech-built S-105s, and the remainder were some of the ones that were imported from the Soviet Union. This aircraft served for almost 15 years or so. They were phased out of frontline service from Czechoslovakia in 1972. So let's take a look at the kit itself. So we've got some interesting box art. It's printed directly onto the cardboard, so it's a little bit more muted. Not quite as brilliant as some of the US or produced kits that were lithograph paper glued on, or a much later process of printing directly on the cardstock. Box art is done by a gentleman by the name of Miroslav Balus. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that somewhat close, but it's nice that they let him sign the artwork on there, which is unusual for box arts, but I was able to find out who he actually was. So on the sides we've got line drawings of the MiG-19 or S-105. On the end we've got, there's the KP logo on there. Czechoslovakia is prominent. On the side here, different markings for different countries. I think that's Czech, Soviet, Polish, I think that's Chinese or North Vietnamese, and then Pakistani. The other side is similar. Nothing on the bottom. Let's take a look at what we got inside here. So here's our instruction sheet. Fortunately, it appears to be all written in Czech. CIS-4, I'm assuming, is probably the kit number. Is in 1/72 scale. Got a drawing here of the Czechoslovakian markings. Information about the aircraft itself, which they, looks like they keep referring to it as MiG-19S in here. And diagram of all the parts with everything called out by number. And the actual assembly itself. Looks fairly detailed with a lot of small parts for it. And there's the assembly of the underside. And even this 1972 kit, you've got a heated knife still being required to attach the landing gear onto the stubs. On the back side here, you've got the painting guides, one for a Czech aircraft, one for what appears to be a Soviet aircraft, and one for a Pakistani. Looks like the Czech and the Soviet are all silver, then the Pakistani one's got some sort of camouflage on it. Now we'll take a look at the markings, the decals. So I believe this decal sheet may have been cut, since we got two pieces here. Looks like maybe like that. I think the Soviet markings are missing from this particular kit. So we've got markings for a Czechoslovakian aircraft, 0218. It's not able to find any reference online for this exact aircraft, but I was able to find reference to a 0219. So I'll show you some images of that aircraft here. And for the Pakistani, it's for 471823. And the 823 for the nose is on there as well. So this 823 was a Chinese-built one, which were the Shenyang F-6Cs. So these were built in China and then delivered to Pakistan. The total number was about 260 aircraft, equipping 10 squadrons. And this specific aircraft was assigned to number 25 squadron. It was painted in the standard Chinese camouflage. It was flown by a gentleman by the name of Wing Commander Saad Hatmi, and in the Indo-Pakistani War of 71, you had him and a Flight Lieutenant Shahid Raza shot down two Indian Air Force hunters in the Swan Valley near Shikisar Hills. So this is a pretty significant aircraft for the Pakistani Air Force. So it was nice to see that they represented that aircraft in the markings. So here's some images of Wing Commander Saad Hatmi and the aircraft. So we'll take a look at the kit now. First up is the, looks like you get a base, which is nice. And here's the clear part. You got panel lines or framing lines on there, which is nice. Not terribly thick, but a little bit of distortion going on there, but not too bad, especially for the scale. Here's our first tree, which includes the fuselage. Got very fine raised panel lining and rivet detail. You can really kind of see that on there or not, but it's pretty fine. A lot of detail, lots of little different panel sections. And interesting, the tail fin is molded only onto one half. So it's nice you don't get a seam down the front of that. Our second sprue includes drop tanks, some landing gear parts, engine exhaust, nose splitter, wheels. Some pretty fine detail. Actually looks like a little bit of engraved stuff is showing up on there. Maybe there's actually a little bit of engraved stuff on the fuselage too, but it's really, really fine. So pretty nice for this era of a kit. Here's some of your cockpit parts. Pilot, fairly generic with a almost Spaceball size helmet. And then finally we got the wings. Again, some pretty fine detailing. A little bit of flash on here. Interesting, you do have the wing root cannons appear to be hollowed out, which is unusual for this size. And here's the other wing and some of the tail. And here's your other tail piece. So again, some really fine detail on here. Not a bad little kit for 1972. Pretty impressive. But this builds up really nice. So this kit was issued a few more times by KP. Another Czech company, Aero team, also released it in the 90s. Another Polish company by the name of Kopro Mastercraft released a version of this in the 90s as well. The resurrected KP models, which started again back in 2009 to about 2014, reissued a lot of the original KP kits under the name of KP models, and they reissued this kit a couple of times in 2010 and 2012. And then finally, there's some fairly recent SMER issues of this in 2018, another Czech company. So this kit's been around quite a bit, but it looks pretty good. You know, it holds up pretty well, I'd say, against some of the more modern kits. So if you're looking to build yourself a MiG-19 or S-105 or an F-6C from China, this is not a bad option for you. Even though this is an old kit, it still looks pretty good. So we'll show you some images of some of the other boxings on it. And if you've built this kit, or one of the versions of it, please let us know in the comment section how it went together and how the completed aircraft looks. So we'll be taking a look at some other foreign kits later on. There's a lot of really neat kits that have been made around the world in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that we're going to be taking a look at as well. So thanks for stopping by, and have yourself a great day.